The Buddha rested beneath the Bodhi tree, his gaze serene, as disciples gathered to absorb his teachings. Sariputta spoke first, describing a harsh merchant known for mocking and insulting those who approached him. He gestured to the ground before them, scattered with fallen leaves, each a testament to the passage of time. Life, like these leaves, he said, is fleeting and impermanent. There exists a thorny tree in the forest, he began, whose branches tear the flesh of travelers passing close. The disciples nodded, imagining the painful encounter with such a tree in their minds. Begin with the breath, the Buddha instructed, his hands forming a gentle mudra. It is the thread connecting body and mind. The disciples leaned closer, sensing the depth of the lesson to come, their hearts seeking guidance. The difficult person in your life, Buddha continued, is the thorny tree that tests your patience and inner peace. Sariputta tilted his head, seeking to grasp the entirety of this metaphor offered by the master. Buddha smiled gently, recognizing the disciples' yearning to unravel these words into actionable clarity. He began recounting an episode from his youth, tracing its lessons back to the disciples' current troubles. During my time as a young ascetic, Buddha said, I encountered a man whose tongue was sharp as a sword. The disciples imagined the words cutting through the fabric of peace the young ascetic sought to cultivate. His mockery aimed to dismantle my resolve. His insults meant to shake the foundation of my path, Buddha said calmly. Focus on the present moment, the Buddha instructed. Let each inhale cleanse your spirit. Each exhale release your burdens. The disciples exchanged glances, recognizing the significance of Buddha's introspection, the mirror he discovered within the man's mockery. This man, Buddha continued, was like a thorn, piercing the surface to reveal the imperfections hidden within my own heart. The disciples remained silent, absorbing the idea that each word the man wielded held the power to uncover hidden truths. I saw him as a mirror, and in accepting what was reflected, I achieved freedom from anger itself, Buddha explained. Sariputta frowned slightly, still uncertain about translating this lofty principle into the practicalities of life with others. The Buddha offered further clarity, do not grasp the thorn, for it only pierces deeper. Instead, let its lesson guide you forward. The disciples nodded slowly, tracing the outline of these teachings within their hearts, examining the sharp truths they often avoided. Buddha then directed their focus back to the merchant described earlier, aligning his insights with their immediate concerns. This merchant, the thorn in your garden, is not there to destroy but to teach you patience, Buddha said. The disciples remained thoughtful, contemplating the transformation of enemies into teachers, opposition into opportunity for inner strength. Let the thorny tree remain in the forest, and do not fight against its thorns, Buddha concluded, his tone soft yet firm. Sariputta finally spoke, summarizing the profound truths offered by the master, asking for deeper guidance on applying them daily. Master, how shall we remind ourselves that the thorn is a lesson, not an obstacle to our peace? Sariputta asked earnestly. Buddha responded with an allegory, one that carried the echo of simplicity and spiritual enlightenment in equal measure. In your hand, hold a single grain of sand, Buddha instructed. How small it is, yet it can obscure your vision. The disciples complied, imagining the grain as if it had materialized within their palms. Small yet undeniably present, throw it far into the distance. See now how insignificant the same grain becomes within the vastness of the desert, Buddha said. The disciples reflected on how each thorn felt overwhelming in the moment but diminished in perspective beyond attachment. The grain and the thorn both shrink when seen through the lens of patience and wisdom, Buddha concluded. The Bodhi tree swayed gently above, as if bowing to the truth shared beneath its eternal embrace. Sariputta finally smiled, as did the others. their hearts lighter with the wisdom bestowed upon them. They knew difficult people would cross their paths, yet they held new tools to navigate these encounters with grace. Buddha's words echoed as they rose, carrying them back to the challenges awaiting in their lives. The path continued, and so did the teachings that formed the bridges guiding every disciple across life's turbulent waters. Silence surrounded the Bodhi tree once again, the wind carrying whispers of peace to all who sought it in earnest. Another day, another walk under the sun's warmth. As the Buddha passed through the village surrounded by devoted disciples seeking wisdom, they paused near the market square, where commotion filled the air, a cacophony of shouts and barks piercing through. A snarling dog roamed the street, its sharp teeth visible, chasing away vendors and frightening passers-by. Ananda, walking beside the Buddha, gazed at the scene with concern and asked, "Master, why does the dog act so hostile?" The Buddha paused, observing the dog's movements, studying its growls and jerking limbs with his calm, unwavering attention. The dog's spirit is troubled, much like the hearts of men who lash out in anger and fear, Buddha explained. The disciples gathered closer, eager to hear the guidance their master would provide in this confrontation of aggression and turmoil. Villagers began throwing stones at the dog, shouting curses, their anger fueling the chaos that enveloped them all. The disciples mirrored the tension of the villagers, unsure whether to intervene or allow the scene to unfold. Ananda spoke again, his voice carrying urgency. "Master, the dog grows more fierce with each insult hurled at it. How can we calm its rage?" The Buddha's gaze softened as he turned toward his disciples, his voice steady and composed. What would happen if the villagers offered the dog a morsel of food instead of stones? He asked gently. He knelt, reaching into his alms bowl to retrieve a small handful of rice, placing it gently upon the ground nearby. The snarling dog hesitated, its growls quieter now, its gaze fixed on the food rather than the hostile crowd. Slowly, the dog approached the offering, sniffing cautiously before devouring the rice, its aggression melting away. The villagers ceased throwing stones, their astonishment palpable, watching the transformation of the dog's demeanor before their eyes. The Buddha turned to his disciples and addressed their earlier concerns. The dog acts fiercely because hunger drives its actions, just as fear drives anger within troubled hearts, he said. The disciples nodded, gaining insight into how aggression often stems from unmet needs, whether physical or emotional in nature. Responding with anger only feeds the fire of discord, yet kindness quenches it, as you have witnessed today, Buddha explained. Ananda's expression softened, recognizing the simplicity yet profound power of the principle demonstrated before them. A merchant nearby stepped forward, his brow furrowed as he spoke directly to the Buddha with skepticism. "Master, does kindness always win over the aggressive? What if the dog bit me, despite my offering food?" Buddha listened attentively, acknowledging the merchant's valid concern. A question rooted in fear and survival. Kindness is not guaranteed to change another's actions, yet it changes your own heart, freeing it from the chains of hate, Buddha responded. The merchant remained thoughtful, contemplating the significance of this idea in his own life and encounters with difficult people. Meeting fear with kindness requires courage, and courage is the path to liberation from suffering, Buddha added. The disciples reflected deeply, considering the many times they had responded to hostility with aggression, rather than pausing to offer understanding. "Master, how can we find the strength to offer kindness when hostility feels overwhelming?" Ananda asked earnestly. Buddha offered another teaching, his words carrying the resonance of timeless wisdom. In the forest, there are animals that roar fiercely, yet they seek only to protect their territory, Buddha began. Approach them with fear, and their roar grows louder. Approach them with peace, and their roar weakens. The disciples visualize the roaring animals in the forest, their minds tracing the metaphor to encounters with difficult people in their lives. Buddha continued, aggression and fear are intertwined, both fragile as spider's silk when met with the steady hand of understanding. The disciples saw the scene before them shift in meaning. The dog was no longer an enemy but a reflection of inner turmoil transformed. The villagers began dispersing, their expressions lighter, as if witnessing Buddha's action had lifted their collective tension. Ananda spoke once more, seeking clarification on the broader application of kindness, particularly to those seemingly beyond change. Master, how can we sustain kindness for those who reject it repeatedly? For those who remain caught in anger? Buddha smiled, his patience infinite, his wisdom radiating like the sun shining above them. Kindness is not a transaction seeking reward. It is a seed planted within your spirit to grow through practice, Buddha replied. Ananda's gaze deepened, grasping the reality that kindness often works invisibly, shaping the giver's heart regardless of the recipient's response. Difficult people test this seed's strength, challenging its roots, but through persistence, it grows unshaken, Buddha concluded. The disciples rose, their hearts filled with conviction to practice the lessons learned from this humble yet transformative encounter. The snarling dog wandered away, its aggression quelled, a mirror reflecting the power of intentional peace demonstrated by the Master. The sun began setting, casting its golden hues across the village. As the Buddha continued walking toward the distant horizon, another day, another lesson beneath the monastery's tall trees. As the Buddha sat surrounded by disciples eager for his teachings, their faces showed curiosity and concern. Knowing life's difficulties often centered around encounters with relentless individuals who refused transformation, Mahakasyapa spoke first, addressing a dilemma that weighed heavily on his mind amidst peaceful surroundings. Master, what if a person persists in hostility despite patience and kindness? How do we protect our peace? He asked. The disciples nodded, sharing in this concern that reached beyond fleeting frustrations into the depth of human interaction. The Buddha rested his hands calmly, his voice resonating with strength and clarity as he began to address this query. Consider the mountain, Buddha said, his tone carrying the wisdom of ages. Its summit touches the sky, yet storms rage against its sides with fierce winds and unyielding force. The disciples imagined the mountain standing firm, its structure unbroken, enduring the relentless impact of storms. Year after year, does the mountain tremble in fear? No, it remains rooted in its foundation, unmoved by what surrounds it, Buddha explained. His words paused as the disciples contemplated the metaphor, each finding parallels in their own experiences with difficult individuals. To protect your peace, Buddha continued, you must embody the mountain, standing strong amidst storms unleashed by hostility. Mahakasyapa tilted his head slightly, pondering how to translate this metaphor into action when facing challenges in real situations. Buddha's gaze softened, recognizing the disciples' silent inquiries and offering deeper guidance that blended abstraction with practicality. When the storm swirls around you, Buddha said, anchor yourself within your own spirit, unmoved by external forces. He added, this is not about ignoring pain. It's about cultivating strength to remain centered despite it. The disciples leaned closer, recognizing the power in these words and the challenge they posed for the untrained heart. Master, what happens when a storm feels too great, threatening to uproot our peace entirely? Ananda asked earnestly. Buddha smiled gently, his serene countenance reflecting the confidence of enduring wisdom. Within the heart of the mountain lies stillness, not visible but vital, Buddha said. Stillness is the key to enduring life's storms, the disciples nodded, their minds reaching toward this concept of inner stillness as both strength and sanctuary. To cultivate stillness, practice mindfulness, rooting yourself in presence rather than reaction, Buddha added. Mahakasyapa asked another question, his voice thoughtful. Master, does standing like the mountain mean withdrawing from others who continue to cause harm? The Buddha responded with a story from his past, illuminating the principle further with direct experience. During my travels, I met a king whose pride made him blind to his people's suffering, Buddha began. The disciples listened intently, drawn into the narrative unfolding before them, eager to discover its lessons intertwined with their concerns. I showed him kindness despite his arrogance. Yet his insults grew louder, his actions more harmful toward those around him, Buddha recounted. Sariputta's brow furrowed, sensing the tension within the story and wondering how Buddha responded to the king's persistent behavior. The king's storm raged against me, yet I stood firm, rooted in compassion, never allowing his anger to shake my peace, Buddha explained. Ananda interrupted softly, asking, "But Master, did kindness alone bring change to the king's heart?" Buddha shook his head lightly, acknowledging the reality inherent in such encounters. Change must come from within, Buddha said. Despite his refusal, I remained unshaken, protecting my peace without surrendering to his storm. The disciples exchanged glances, recognizing the paradox of offering kindness without expectation, even to those who resist it entirely. I was the mountain. His storm was strong, but the mountain does not seek to change the storm, Buddha explained. Mahakasyapa posed one last query, seeking clarity on remaining strong without cultivating resistance or bitterness toward difficult individuals. Master, how do we stand firm without allowing bitterness to take root against those who cause harm? He asked. Buddha offered a simple yet profound response, his voice steady and heartfelt. Bitterness is a storm within, born from resistance to the storms outside. Let go of resistance and cultivate compassion instead, Buddha said. The disciples reflected deeply, contemplating how bitterness often arises unnoticed, masking itself as strength while weakening their resolve. Compassion softens the heart's edges, allowing peace to flow freely, unbroken by storms beyond its boundary, Buddha continued. The Buddha concluded his teaching as dusk fell, casting its gentle light across the monastery where wisdom and silence intertwined. The disciples rose, their hearts filled with clarity and determination to embody the mountain amidst life's unpredictable tempests. The path stretched ahead, carrying them back to challenges where Buddha's words would echo in their spirits. The wind whispered through the monastery's trees, carrying the teachings outward to those who sought refuge within life's storms. Buddha watched them depart, his expression serene, knowing the journey of inner peace remained endless, yet worth pursuing. Thank you for watching. Buddha's teachings are always with you. Subscribe to our channel and we will see you in the next video.